Peter Hain.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. It's a pleasure to serve under you. And can I, from the outset, apologise for having to go immediately I sit down to undertake an official appointment to do with my former Northern Ireland Secretary of State duties. So I won't be able to hear the Minister's reply, but I will, of course, read it. In a short time that personal independent payments have come into force to replace the disability living allowance, it's quickly become evident that the system is miserably failing people and leaving some of the most vulnerable in our communities in utter desperation. My Neath constituency has one of the highest take-up rates in the old disability living allowance system, a legacy of the industrial heritage that once provided livelihoods for many of my constituents, but has now resulted in serious health problems, a heavy price to pay. New applicants for PIP are facing a system of delay and despair. Many constituents have been waiting 6 months or longer. They've had their face-to-face assessments and are frustratingly told, and I quote, that the report is in the final stages with a senior healthcare professional. Close quotes. For those 6 months, they've been living off savings to help them adapt to their conditions. The prospect of a backdated payment is of no comfort to them as they struggle with day-to-day tasks that many of us take for granted while their families suffer under the stress and strain of caring for them. In some of these cases, processed by Capita, healthcare reports have not been up to standard with further information required. This involved going back to the assessor and requesting further information. In one case, a second face-to-face assessment was required. In one astonishing instance, it came to light in March 2014, last month, that despite the assessment being carried out in November, no assessment report had even been prepared by the assessor. For these constituents, their misery and distress seems to have no ending. But this protracted ordeal is just to get the assessment report from Capita to the Department for Work and Pensions. As the assessment reports start to trickle through to the Department of Work and Pensions, the trend emerging is of further delays. On the final decision stage after the report has reached his department. So after months of waiting with Capita, they face further delays, which only adds to their misery. There is one case that really encapsulates their ordeal, which I have brought up directly with Capita and his department. A constituent made his original application on the 5th of July 2013 after he suffered a serious brain seizure, a stroke, and several other seizures. Initially, he returned to work, but his mobility problems meant he could not continue any longer. He underwent a home assessment on the 15th of October. He made numerous calls to the department, chasing up the progress of his application. Every time they referred him to Capita, because the report had not been sent. But there, he was told, and I quote, the report is in the final stages with a senior healthcare professional. One event epitomizes his predicament. He woke up one morning and asked his wife to leave him in bed as he was feeling unwell. Shortly after she left for work at 8 o'clock in the morning, he suffered a series of convulsions that lasted approximately 30 minutes. He had difficulty breathing and getting his continuous positive airway pressure mask off, which he has to wear because of obstructive sleep apnea, and the danger of a stroke or heart attack. He was unable to get out of bed for the rest of the day until his wife came home at 4:30. He didn't eat or drink all day and had to urinate into a bottle. His wife is caring for him, but because he has no income from PIP, she has to work and is at the point of utter exhaustion. The decision to award the benefit is vital to enable his wife to give him the proper care and supervision that he needs. Until a decision is made, they cannot arrange the care that he needs, and their life is in limbo. In March, he finally received his decision notice, only to be informed at the end of the month that a stop had been put on his payment, a decision that could not be explained when he phoned the DWP. It's now been 9 months, and he hasn't received a payment. In the DWP's own decision notice, it states he's owed a back payment of over £5,000. He's been let down by Capita and the Department of Work and Pensions as his anguish goes on and on. In a different case, the application was made in June last year. The report from Capita was eventually received by the DWP on the 13th of February. A decision has still not been made. as the individual told me, and I quote, "I have no confidence that the process will ever end. There's always one more stage, one more delay." Frankly, it's a sentiment felt by many who've lost any faith they might have had in what has been a heartless system that is supposed to be helping people. A dreadful stain on a Department for Work and Pensions I served as Secretary of State over. The excruciating stress and anxiety is hitting people very seriously, including cancer sufferers and ex-servicemen with post-traumatic stress disorder. Ministers, I believe, should be ashamed of this system because it's punitive and nasty and causing abject despair to far too many people. If the Atos... I will briefly, yeah.
Honourable friend, and just to emphasise the dilemma facing our constituents, one very similar case in my constituency where a woman suffered strokes and was in this position, applied last June and has just received the benefit. Her husband actually elected to reduce his hours at work, as a result of which they lost the tax credits which they were entitled to, so they went into even deeper financial problems as a result of these unacceptable delays.
It's okay. My honourable friend makes a very important point, and look, I'm not going to make any attacks on ministers in this sense, or personal attacks, because I think they probably feel they're doing a professional job. But I sometimes wonder whether they have any idea of what's going on the ground as a result of their policies. If the Atos debacle taught us anything, it is the importance of getting the decision right in the first place. And in my own constituency, the local welfare rights unit had an 80% success rate with the appeals that they conducted against Atos's decisions. But this should not mean waiting unacceptably long times, like 6, 7 or 8 months for a decision that could dramatically affect somebody's life and their income. Action must be taken immediately to address this inexplicably lengthy and prolonged system, causing misery and despair for applicants. The turnaround of applications must be drastically accelerated by both the assessment provider and the department. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.